Good morning. It's about 20 after 5 here in Calgary area, and you'll notice compared to the other videos that are up that this is a little bit of a different setup, and we are isolated away with tons and tons and tons of food at our cabin. And so this is a little bit of a different setup, so we're going to keep this practice just a little closer in. I'm going to be staying more on the floor. We're not going to be standing and doing a big long flow, but we will be using a strap and a chair. Okay, so grab a strap and have a chair close by, and let's get into a little bit of a practice. Alrighty, so I've got this long 8-footer. You don't need anything this long. 6 or 4 is going to be fine, even if you don't have a strap. But if you have a tie or like a bathrobe tie, but it's got to be at least about like this long. So yeah, about that. All right, so here we go. Have the strap close in, and let's just begin with a little bit of breathing. Place something underneath your hips in order to get yourself up a little bit. Let me just demonstrate that. Okay, so ideally when we're sitting, like I don't tend to do a lot of like on the floor sitting work when I'm with clients because most people are unable to sit on the floor. But if you are able to sit on the floor, the aim is to have your knees lower than your hips. So you can actually see that my knees are pretty much just a little higher than my hips. So it would be more ideal for me to be up a little bit higher. Okay, so let's do that. So that's probably a little bit too high, but you get the idea, right? So we want just to enable our pelvis to be in a yummy position to enable an easy vertical way up. And when you're sitting on whatever you're sitting on, you don't want to have your pelvis leaning forward into an anterior tilt. You'll see when that happens, you see how this begins to, you begin to almost collapse in this area. So the idea, not to like pull everything in, but just to sit in a state where your pelvis can be not tilted forward and not tilted too far back, kind of like a Goldilocks place. And your spine can lift easily up so you're not like rounded like this trying to reach up, but you're just easy. That vertical nature of your spine is just easy going up. Okay? So now, notice what it is that you're feeling. Feel inhale and feel exhale. And if you are up with me and it's earlier in the morning for you, notice how you were with your sleep and your sleep was with you. What's your level of rest feeling like? And if this is later in the day, so if you're joining me from parts of Europe, then notice how your day's been with you, right? It's, for some of you over in Europe, you're in the 11, 12, 1 o'clock range. So just notice what your day's like for you. Inhaling and exhaling. I've been sharing a lot with people how I'm someone who tends to have a positive outlook on things, and I think we can get through this better than we came into it. And so when I'm practicing, it's really deeply connecting to myself. I was also sharing about my children who are 3-year-old twins, and they have no clue about what's going on right now, but they can feel me, and they can feel my husband. And so when I'm disconnected and when I'm sort of agitated in my head, they feel that, right? I can tell they can. So I'm paying attention to go deeper into myself, and they are a really lovely barometer for what's up. Okay, so let's get rolling here. Let's take the strap. We're going to bring the strap over the head, and we're just going to take it around in a circle. Easy, easy, easy. Now, sometimes what can happen is we can do this with the ribs. And we don't want to do that. I want you to focus in on this shoulder being the articulating joint. Yeah? The elbows are mostly going on for the ride, so you'll see that the angle of my elbow is exactly the same all the way through. Yeah? And that my ribs aren't doing this, right? So even when you brought your arms up overhead, did your ribs poke forward, right? Because we want to move the arms up via this joint. If we're moving the arms up via here, now we're doing a back movement. We're not doing an arm movement. Okay, so let's come back to here. Okay. Now, why is that even important? Who really cares about that? Well, the reason why that's important is because you're developing awareness about your body. And so if you consistently move in areas of your body that aren't actually meant to do the movement, then you're gaining how do I want to say this? You're gaining an awareness, and you're helping improve the neuromuscular connections that aren't actually supposed to be connected in the way that you're asking them to be connected. So when you only move in the range of what's really available in the articulating joint, then pain symptoms can go down because now you're improving motor control and coordination. Yeah. So now, don't get me wrong, there are times absolutely that compensation makes sense. But when we're talking about helping people get out of pain, or helping yourself out of pain, or helping reduce strain and tension, one of the fastest ways that I know to enable people to do that is to reduce compensation and just move better. Because like I said, you improve the motor coordination and control, and when you do that, you change the communication between the brain and the body part that you're moving, and that's when you start to shift up movement patterns. And then you change force load through your body, you change the way tissue moves, and so now this part of my body, this part of my body was doing all the movement, and not my shoulder. Now this guy, if I stop compensating through here, this can now settle out. Now think about what's here: diaphragm, transversus, top of the psoas, top of the quadratus lumborum. There's a ton of tissue in here that now doesn't have to do the supposed work that the shoulder was meant to do, right? And so that's why this whole compensation thing becomes really powerful. Yeah. And then not only that, you begin to notice where you tolerate elsewhere, which also becomes really powerful. Okay, so we're going to do this one more time. And I want you just to feel your body doing its movement. Okay, and then back around. Okay, so now, even if you can do cow face pose, I want you just to do it with your strap if you can, all right? You're going to take this arm here, and you're going to rotate it here. That's the articulating joint. The elbow and the hand are coming along for the ride. You're going to now take it behind you. Now you'll bend your elbow and bring the arm in behind and grab the strap. The other arm's going to come up alongside the ear, bend the elbow, and grab the strap. You don't need to pull the strap. You don't need to kind of wiggle yourself up to grab your hands. Grabbing your hands does not mean that you're super awesome, although it's pretty cool. You don't need to grab hands. You just need to move your body the way and what's available for you at this moment, at this time, wherever you are in our world. Now, your arm, you might not be able to move the shoulder joint so that the elbow points up. You might be here. You might be here. That's fine. Just be conscious of what you've done here. And if you notice that your ribs are really sticking out now, then just come on out away from this and then reset yourself. Okay, and let's go to the other side. So with this arm, it came out, rotate, extend it back, bend the elbow, and bring this arm up. Now, sometimes what can happen with this side is that when we bring the arm back, then the ribs pop out, right? Because there's some limitation perhaps in through the front part of the chest. And so if you're only coming here, then you're only coming here. You don't need to grab the strap. It's the magic of yoga doesn't happen from the position that you're in. The magic of yoga happens on the way into it. Yeah? And then once you get into it and can be in it, yeah, there's some other magic that happens there. But if you've completely made it crazy the way you've gotten into the pose, you're just setting yourself up for lots of injury and discomfort and poor brain to body connection. Okay, great. And then bring that down. All right, now Arms are going to come back up. Arms and hands are going to come a little wider on the strap. So I'm just a bit more than shoulder width here. So my arms are going to come up. And now I'm going to take this back arm, I'm going to take it back, and I'm articulating through this shoulder joint, and my front arm is going along for the ride. All right, so I'm just doing that. I'm not like tugging it back like this. I'm just being super gentle with my back arm. And then coming on up, and then back this way. Okay, lovely. All right, now, taking the strap now, and we're going to tie it around the ribs. Not in a huge, hard way, just easy. Okay, and so this is going to act as some biofeedback here now, okay? And you'll be breathing just normally. Notice where you feel your breath in your body as you inhale and as you exhale. And so placing your hands wherever it is that you feel the breath in your body. Okay, now, you've noticed where you feel the breath, and you also probably notice the volume of your breathing, and if it, like how much air and how much you're actually filling up. I don't want you to change that amount, but I do want you to move your breath to the side of your ribs. So wherever you felt your breath, whether it was here, or wherever it was in your body, I want you to move it to the side of your ribs without changing the volume. And you'll feel it with the strap around your ribs. And if you don't have a strap, just hold your hands on either side. Okay, now think about the back of your ribs, and now move the movement of your body with inhale and exhale to the back of your ribs. So again, don't increase the volume if you can, just move the breath to the back of the ribs. Okay, now do both. So the sides and the back. So you're feeling movement wide and movement back. Now you might also notice that you have no movement at all in the sides of the ribs or the back. And if that's the awareness, that's great. So just move the breath to wherever that kind of wall or that tightness or that tension is. Just notice it as some feedback your body is giving you. Okay, good. And then take this off. And now breathe normally, whatever that breath is. Okay, so now you're going to take your strap and you're going to bring the strap over one shoulder here. So the buckle, or one end of the tie, is right here. And you're going to bring your arm in behind, and you're going to grab the strap, and you're going to take it underneath your armpit. and then bring it over that shoulder here. Okay, and then you're going to bring it across, like so. And then you'll tighten it up. So what it looks like from behind is that. Okay. All right, so now you're here, and this is going to be snug. And just notice, like even myself, and you'll probably see this in my shirt, I'm sitting up a little taller here now. And notice what you're feeling. So those of you who are working from home at your computer, this might be a helpful little thing to add to your day if you're doing longer days. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of a twist. So the hands are just going to come forward, and we're going to take a twist this way. And then really do your best to notice if you're shifting your ribs one way or the other way, or if you're side bending or you're back bending. Do your best to really make it a rotation motion. Okay, and now bring that off. All right, and notice what it is that you're feeling. Okay, so now I'm going to unhook this because we're going to come back to another movement in a moment, but I don't want it to be twisted. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to the side for a moment. We're next going to come to a chair. Okay. So with this chair, we're going to take this part of the forearm, or the upper arm, we're going to place it on the chair, and same with the other side, and we're going to bring the hands together like so. And then we're going to move through the hips and the shoulders. Okay, so you'll notice that what I didn't do is I didn't do this, right? I didn't make my pelvis go into anterior tilt, and I didn't lose it through my ribs. But I'm also not holding and bracing through my abdomen either. I'm just noticing the connection between my ribs and my pelvis. And the articulating joint is the shoulder and the shoulders and the hips. So I'm here, and then I come through, see and the knees too, I should say, right? And so my hips and my shoulders are the ones doing the movement, okay? And then my head, I'm just going to take this hand down for a sec. My head's going to come down here. Now some of you aren't going to have the available range, so you can grab a pillow and place it here, and then put your head on there. So you're just raising it up. You don't want to be in a position where you're only going as far here, and then you have to drop your head way down like this, and so then there's a lack of harmony between your head and the rest of your spine. So just raise up the chair a little bit, okay? But I've got my palms touching right now, and I'm just moving through my hips and my shoulders, and I'm just resting my forehead on the chair. And then easy, easy, easy breathing. We'll be here for about 8 breaths. Okay, lovely. And then come on up. All right, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to take that away. And now notice what it is that you're feeling. Right, like just be here and standing. And notice what this upper part of you feels like, and if there's any distinction through your lower body as you've shifted up stuff through here. I think that's what can be so interesting, is how we can do work in one area of our body, but another area can feel the freedom. Yeah. Okay, so now what I'll do here, because this is such a long strap, I'm going to tie this into a loop. And now what I'm about to do, I typically teach what I'm about to do with a long, so this is like about a 6 foot, 8 foot strap. If you just have like a bathrobe tie or a man's tie, then you can use that. It'll be a little bit different, but you'll get the, you can modify it and you'll get the idea. Right, so you don't absolutely need this. Okay, so we're going to take a strap around the foot. And now some people like to teach this from putting it right near the heel. Others are here. I don't have a preference. It's more what feels right for you, okay? What I do want you to play with, though, is to bring your leg to 90 degrees, so this hip's at 90. This knee can be as bent as you want it to be. So you might be like me here, where I can straighten my knee with my hip at 90, or you might be here, right? Or you might be here, okay? Then what I'm going to play with my strap is I'm going to place my hands like this, so the wrist is inside, and I'm going to have my hand up like this. And I'll show you, if you don't have a long strap, I'll show you what you can do. Right? I'm going to just move my leg down and up. Now, if you don't have that, and you can only hold your strap like this, then that's what you'll do. Just try not to grip like with white knuckles, right? Just be super easy with the strap, and the leg's going to come down, and then the leg's going to come up. Okay? So I'm just going to do this from this perspective so you can see a bit more of the movement. Okay, so we're here, how I'm doing it, and you're going to bring the leg down and up. Now, with this leg that's bent, you can, if you want, you can straighten it if you'd like. Okay, you can do that. So it's as if the leg is leading you on the way down and the arms are leading you on the way up. The leg is leading you on the way down and the arms are leading you on the way up. Let's do a few more. Okay, so from here, holding on to the strap with the opposite arm, this leg is going to come across, but you'll notice my hip's not coming up. I'm just bringing the leg across, but the pelvis is staying mostly down on the floor. Okay? And then watch my toes here. I'm going to move my foot. Now I'm trying to make the movement through my ankle. So even though my toes are pointing like that, I also want to make this a movement through my ankle. Okay, and the leg's going to come back. Opposite one's going to straighten. This knee's going to bend, and we're going to take this into a twist. Now the hip can come up. Shoulder stays on the floor. Good. And then come on back. Lovely. Okay, great. And let's switch sides. So now we've got this foot up. If you've got a long strap, the hands are up like this, and the leg comes down, and arms come up. Legs come down, arms come up. Two more. If you don't have a long strap, you can just be holding it like this. Okay? And then you'll be bringing the leg across your body. Pelvis is staying on the floor. It's not lifting. You can also have this leg straight if you want. Just notice what it feels like in your body more than anything. And then start to move the ankle. then bring the leg back. Knee comes to your belly, and then let's come across the body. All right, perfect. Okay, so now let's come on up here. So now I've got my legs in a hook line position, so they're in bending position. And watch where my feet are. We're going to move our legs into rotation at the hip. So this is the articulating joint. And you'll see that my feet did not slide in. My feet are staying right where they are, and I'm rotating them out onto the outer edges of the feet. Now the mover are the hips. Now, just for fun and for added awareness, I want you to feel your fingers in through the front of your hips. And as you move your legs wide, those hip flexors ought not to be firing. This is more of a horizontal movement as opposed to a vertical movement, which is when the hip flexors really fire and contract. And we're coming wide. Now some people will say, but Susie, the hip flexors are in flexion, right? And it's like they are, but they're not actively holding you in flexion, right? They come once they're here, they're not like unless you've got more gripped hip flexors. Yes, there might be some higher tone there, but as we're moving wide, that ought not to increase. So really try to do your best to only move through here as much as they don't fire. And if you still don't believe me, then I just encourage you to humor me or yourself and just try it anyway, and then see what starts to happen through your pelvic floor perhaps, or your back, or your shoulders, or your jaw, your knees. It's kind of cool because so often, this hasn't even really been a hip flexor type of practice, but so often our hip flexors don't shift with like hip flexor stretches. They shift when we get the other parts of our body moving better. Okay, so now we're going to move a little bit slower on the way out. And another thing you can pay attention to, this one's really subtle, but notice, look at my heel, notice when your heel wants to turn in, right? So oftentimes, when the heel turns in, it's an indicator that something up in the hip is not moving quite as it could. So only move as far as that heel doesn't turn in. Our body's got such amazing ways to help us make a movement happen. I don't call it cheating. I don't call it sneaky, because I don't think it's cheating or sneaky. I think it's just a really great adaptive nature of our body. And we don't need it in this position. We don't need to use that way of adaptability. Okay, and then let's bring one knee to your belly, and then place your hand on the front of the thigh. And you're going to press the knee into your hand and the hand into the knee, but you're not going to like brace with the side of your body, just gentle pressure. This is a hip flexion, so your hip flexors will engage. But you're not using your shoulder here, you're just using this arm as a bit of resistance. Okay? And then the other side, gentle pressure. and then switch it and make it diagonal. So you get a little bit more through your torso as well as your hip flexor. Try not to push with this foot into the floor. Make it more about the movement of the leg coming towards you. Good job. Okay, so now from here, hands on your belly, or one hand on your solar plexus and one on your belly, and just easy, easy, easy breathing. If you want to straighten your legs out or put them on a bolster, go right ahead. We're going to move into a little bit of a Shavasana. And do your best to just be here. Allow this transition time between movement and awareness into the rest of your life. Inhale coming in, exhale going out. Feels like you're a boat on water. The waves coming in and the waves going out. And when you feel yourself going off into your mind, come back to your body. Use this time just to be present to your own self and your own breath. And start to build the stamina to do that. And you can be here for as long as you'd like. When you're ready to move, take 5 breaths and then count them on your exhalation. And when you finish that 5th one, then gently roll it over and then carry on with your day. All right? You have a great practice, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Take care. Bye-bye.